Welcome back to the Innovate interview series, our conversations with industry leaders about the innovations that are driving us forward. I'm joined today by John Allen of Quantum Stabilisers. John, thank you for joining us. Pleasure to see you.
You're welcome, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here. And honestly, I don't have much else going on today.
Well, yeah, I definitely know that feeling. Since Quantum's inception in 1985, they really have come to define what it means to have effective and efficient stabilization and roll dampening on board super yachts and across marine and commercial industries. A big part of that is innovation, and I wonder if you could explain to us what exactly innovation means to you and how that's helped Quantum hold such a strong position in the industry.
Tough question. I give him the best shot.
Okay.
It's, innovation to us is not, people think of innovation, think of just entirely new products that just come along and they just sort of pop up, but it's not always the case. I think in general, it's the case is that people improve the existing products that they work on. They constantly do that. And then once in a while, they hit on a big, sort of win, and that becomes an innovation. But to get to that wasn't, it was sort of a climb, and then you get to something and it happens and you have an idea and it's a big idea. So it changes what you're doing and then you carry on. And in our case, of course, the XT was probably the first really big idea we had after the general concept of zero speed. And that was something that we had developed and worked on. And then we tested it and it worked, and it was a step forward for us. And the same thing happened with the maglift, and then later times the dynafoil, which is also now latest sort of hydrodynamic invention. So in general, innovation to me, or what I believe is innovation, is just constantly working and reworking and developing your product. And you although you think you do that internally and you have all these ideas, it's 95% client driven. That you're trying to improve your product and based on feedback from the clients. And in our case right now, in stabilizers, we tend to break it, or we break it into three areas that we feel are the key areas. And one being the noise, because the equipment has to be quiet. If you can reduce the roll, but people can't sleep, that's not really the way to go. So noise is very critical. Power consumption and how that power is consumed from the ship is also important. And then, of course, the performance and, how do you reduce the roll of the vessel and how well does that work? And those three areas are individual areas. They have disciplines that are attached to those areas. But in general, any one of those areas could render the product, sort of unacceptable, inoperable almost, or not usable. So we work on all three. And one of the things that we've been working on of late, and a recent patent that we filed late last year, was a thing called dynamic load control. And this is very important because we believe that it's about the power consumption and how the power is taken from the ship. And because stabilizers move and stop moving, we don't typically draw power constantly all the time, but we have a cycle of power where we draw some power, then it goes down, we don't draw any power, and then it goes up and down. So we call that like cyclical loading. And that's not very palatable to the ship's power system. They don't really like that. They like to see smooth power. So we developed a system, dynamic load control, and we also named it supercharging as well, where we're able to reduce the cyclical loading by 50 to 70% on the ship's net supply. And that's just one small step that we actually now include in most of the systems that we build, but it's not something that's sort of well publicized. So these are the small steps that we make along the way just to make the product that much better.
Well, incremental small steps are really important and I think often overlooked. I think that kind of savings on load would keep the engineers very happy, I'm sure, on board.
Yeah. So, and the system itself is not, it doesn't that we reduce the amount of power that we use, we just smooth the power out. And that's always been something that we've found from the very beginning, especially with zero speed, was always an issue. And on smaller boats, it became more of an issue. But then as the bigger boats got bigger and the power required to run the stabilizers got much more, then again, in that high end range, we found that we really needed something there as well. So it's like Intel inside almost, your little badge on the side of the thing says you have dynamic load control. Most people wouldn't know what it is, but it's just one of those things that just makes the system in general perform better all around.
That's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see the next steps of that. I know from experience that innovations such as the zero speeds, when they are so successful, they become a term in their own right. From my experience at sea, we'd always refer to zero speeds as just something you did, and it had to be pointed out to me, in fact, that's quantum, and that's a trademark. And I think that's the desired endpoint of all the best innovations. So with that in mind, and with the success on that level, where does the inspiration come to keep innovating? And top of the dynamic system, where do you see the next steps?
Well, yeah, I don't have my crystal ball ready, so I can give it a quick rub for you.
Next time, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, next time. So I'm not sure where it's gone, but the reason that we do innovate and develop things here at Quantum is we are a relatively small company with about 100 people, and we started off developing. And the key people in the organization are more interested, or mostly interested, in developing. We like it. Nobody wants to just build the same thing over and over again. We want to go out there. We like to be on boats. We don't like to be in the office.
Mm-hmm.
We like to be testing new ideas. It's really important to us. So I think it's a more of a cultural thing that we continue to do that. That's sort of how we started, and we've not really changed in that respect. We just have, a customer base of about 1,200 that we have to support, and military work where we can't be too innovative because they don't want to hear about that. So we have a core business, but there's a whole group of people in Quantum that they don't really. Their goal is to have new ideas. That's what drives them, and that's what they get excited about. And I don't think that's going to change. So I can't tell you what's coming next, but it could be something good.
Well, John, we'll keep an eye on that patent, and that certainly sounds exciting. And that's a good point for us. And thank you so much for joining us on the Innovate series. And if anyone would like to know anything else, please visit the Superyacht News/SY Index. And visit the Quantum page there, because there's a full breakdown of all the systems we've spoken about, and some links to some of their products and systems. So again, thanks so much for joining us, John, and thank you for being on the Innovate series.
Oh, you're welcome, Jack. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.